Welcome back to the Quake Pro League. We've had our first match of the day between Benga and CNZ, and now it's off to the second one between dramiS and dooi. Now, Dan, your initial thoughts on this map, because between these two players, they've had their ups and downs throughout the entire course of the stage. dooi, sadly for him, it's been, in terms of his performance, he hasn't been looking too great. Probably one of the worst stages he's actually had in the Quake Pro League since it's begun. But, this is a time for him to at least try and get some respectable scorelines and at least try and make something happen here. Because we're not too sure fully in terms of if he's now got to compete for his relegation spot or not through the Quake Pro League again. But, for dramiS though, it's still, a lot once on the line for him at the moment. He still needs to try and get as many maps as possible. So a win for him is absolutely necessary.
100%. If you had asked me, 6 months ago, even 12 months ago, how would this matchup look? I would be saying, well, they should be battling for like kind of mid-table. It'll be really close. Probably a 2-1 dramiS is maybe dooi can definitely put out the bag. Now, I honestly don't know. They've both been looking incredibly erratic. As you mentioned, dooi almost looks certain to be probably bottom of the league, which is almost unheard of. I think he was looking in a very, very good shape 6-8 months ago. dramiS likewise was very much on an upturn. I remember we were all speaking about him after Stage 2 finals this time last year as somebody to watch out for the next 6 months, and now he finds himself really in a scrap. So I honestly don't know what to make of it for either one of these guys, whether it's a confidence issue, whether they've just tried to tweak something in their playstyle, whether it's purely the fact that we've had this alteration in the map pool and it just doesn't fit their style. I think that's slightly true for dramiS, but still, they are both better than how they're playing. So I think this is a good matchup to restore some confidence for both of them.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Very, very weird. It's like you said, it's not something we would ever predict. Like dooi, in terms of his style, like we know he's very defensive. He's very decisive in terms of what engagements he wants to take. And, he relies more on the chip damage than pushing through depending on the map, champion picks, etc. And it's just weird that, you said it before, that he's quite aggressive now, which is not really like him. But let's have a look at the picks and bans anyway to see exactly what we'll be going through throughout the entire course of the series, because there's a lot to talk about here. And already dooi is taken out Exile, dramiS is taken out Corrupted Keep, and looks like we'll be playing on Awoken, Ruins, and Deep Embrace, Dan.
Wow, some spicy picks today. Doom from dramiS, nice, stable, meta. Nyx, okay, maybe dooi's reverting to the old school dooi, where he's going to camp corners, he's going to play slow, he's going to try and keep in it, 1-0 scoreline. I think that's what he's want to play for here. That's one of the reasons you pick Nyx. Let's see what he brings. But that's an interesting pick. It's not massively uncommon, but again, I'm somebody who always is a little bit skeptical when I see a Nyx on the board. Makes a bit more sense against doom once again because you have more uptime on the Ghost Walk. Things like that play into his corner, but again, just the vulnerability issues that come into play here could cause him some problems. Ruins, we've seen a Sorlag today whenever what it brings. I really enjoy that pick. And I like the Strog as well. dramiS plays an amazing Strog. He's the type of player that looks a lot more at home when you give him a champion where he can really play aggressive. He has that flair aspect to his game. And that's something that Strong brings as well. So I like that matchup. And then Deep Embrace to finish it off as well. We've had the Keel and the Scale Bearer banned, so it means we are limited a little bit to the medium champ of the pool. And Ranger is a dooi special. He loves to play at champion. It works really well on Deep Embrace. But we have Athena as well. I haven't seen an awful lot of Athena on Deep Embrace, and dramiS loves the pick, so I don't know what to expect, but it should be fireworks.
For the bans, again, a little bit strange. Like, I saw Veil and Molten Falls, which was banned quite late on. They're the kind of maps between these two I thought would actually be banned like straight away off the get-go. And even then on Deep Embrace, it seems like, I think it was dramiS who actually banned the kill and decided to favour the Ranger. Even though he had first pick, he still decided to ban the kill anyway. So maybe he's not too comfortable with the champion. And, even if he isn't, he's probably thought, well, if I'm not going to have kill, no one else can, really. So, which is kind of understandable, because at least that way you won't have, as many problems on those choke points across the heavy area on Deep Embrace. But we'll have to see. But what do you feel like is going to be the outcome of this? Because, dramiS has been looking a lot better, but only recently. We know that his last week's match, he played against Sidegib. Again, another player who, should be at least halfway to the top 4 of the table in the Americas region. But he actually defeated him 3-0 last time. So dramiS seems to be playing a lot better in comparison to, the previous weeks in the stage.
I don't think dramiS has played badly at all. I would classify him in that same bracket as we talked about CNZ and somewhat Sparty a few weeks ago, is that he's someone who's been putting in great performances, he's just not been transitioning that into results. So I would expect him to walk away with this as a 2-0, maybe even a 3-0, because dooi for me has just not been looking good. And we're going to meet off the spawn here, has to pop an early Ghost Walk as well. dramiS is going to make his way across the map, pick up all the weapons, and that's a pretty good start for him.
And not only is dramiS managed to waste his Ghost Walk, but now it gives him time to pick up all the hourglasses as well, just to delay things a little bit further. As dramiS now is biding his time, waiting to see where he could be. Heard him go through the telly, waiting for him to go around top mid, but comes up with the LG anyway, took the risk to go for the Mega, which he has done. Another Ghost Walk is popped, and he's chasing him down perfectly here, but it don't matter. It's doooi's the one who takes him down with the shotgun, which is, you know, a massive surprise here, but will he be able to take him down again? No, will not. As in the end, dramiS manages to clean that. And it's only been 1 minute into this game, Dan. A lot more aggressive than we expected.
Yeah, we've already seen 2 Ghost Walks come out already. Some incredible frags. And the first frag of the day for dramiS is with his fists, so unusual. But nice to see that doooi's actually going somewhat aggressive with the Nyx as well, not afraid to go up close and personal, and is actually, by looking at the strategy already, looking to use the Ghost Walk quite a lot of the time. So imagine to him to be trying to throw his body at dramiS a little bit, using the Ghost Walk, backing off, picking up the shots.
dramiS now biding his time just to see if he can fake out any audio cues. Does have top mid control, but it's going to find dooi with him, but dooi has decided to drop down and manage to eat up that light. It's directly underneath him, picks up the Mega anyway. Any problem for dooi now, he needs to try and back away ASAP, but it's going to be trapped around that heavy. Has picked up the heavy for himself.
Oh, really
and he is going to back away.
dramiS is trading abilities. As soon as he sees the Ghost Walk come out, he's popping the Berserk, something that I've not seen anyone do, which then also obviously enables him to pick up these time vials. So he knows if he doesn't want to hit a shot, a rail, he just wants to get out of there. Why not Berserk if you don't want to engage? So makes a lot of sense, working really well. Also timing on point, doesn't actually pick up the item though, but a big rocket neutralizing it and an amazing conversion rail. dramiS, he's looking good.
He's looking very good here.
Wow.
You can definitely see that he's been grinding a little bit more than usual. He did this last stage during stage 1 on the final few weeks. He was playing out of his mind and he's doing the exact same again. Good rockets, good LG, trapped him in the corner.
Hey, this is why I don't like Nyx. Look at the conversion potential. 2 frags in a row. It's easy as you like because of how little stack she has to work with. Yes, she's got great flexibility. She's got good maneuverability, a good ability overall, but the vulnerability, lots of abilities here, is just too much for me.
It's absolute madness is dooi. So we've got a while yet so his Ghost Walk reappears. 7 seconds till the next Mega comes up, but who's going to be able to get it? It's going to be dooi. He wins that last engagement. His dramiS is just quickly trying to pick up those rockets. But dooi now picked up the Mega. Good rocket there from dramiS. And then he cleans him up straight afterwards. Is he going to be waiting for the next round? Pick up the heavy. And the Mega is coming up in the next 17 seconds. So the items are segregated for dramiS to try and work upon if you can.
Oh, look at the speed when Doom pops Berserk. It's mental.
Oh, the speed was pretty ridiculous. It's the strafing I always find it's super hard to try and even fight against for the Doomslayer. Because even though his speed is at 500 max when he pops it, sometimes it does look a little bit more than that sometimes. But dooi though, looking very good, catching up only ever so slightly. As both these players are going to try and fight for this next Mega, which isn't really coming up for the next few seconds, but he has to pop the Ghost Walk, see if he can fight him off, but looks like he's going to back away for that next light.
Yeah, that was a big Ole moment as he does Ghost Walk through a full rocket to his name. He's got up a jump pad really aggressive as well. That's a bit too aggressive. He's got good lightning gun, but just comes out on top there. But where's dramiS going to spawn? He's going to spawn with the lightning gun. Doesn't realise that dooi hasn't picked up the Mega though. He will do now. He didn't see it through his peripheral. dooi is still feeling a little bit scared to double back towards it. dramiS hears it though and hits a rail. Ghost walks up in 3, so dooi can breathe a sigh of relief. And the items are more or less on the same time as well, so they should be able to trade here if no one gets a clean frag.
I've been liking the patience from dooi as well. Again, another good rail from dooi. When he plays a lot more calm, patient, and selective with what he wants to do in terms of take these engagements, his aim just seems to, cooperate with him. Is dooi now. Both these players did miss those trade rails. dooi has picked up the mega, but the items aren't really that segregated, so it depends on which player picks up which in terms of forcing out these engagements. Good LG from dooi. He's going to try and clean him up with the shotgun, a little bit too far away. He gets away with that berserk, was hoping that he would go follow towards that nail area, but it just wasn't to be as he's backed away. But dooi isn't available yet, but he will be now, as dramiS is just seeing if he can finish him up, but he can't, and dramiS is the one who cleans up. Now ahead by 1 frag between both these players.
Oh, conversion as well. dramiS will have plenty of time to get his cross towards his mega. dooi actually gets a great spawn, but look, just comes away with the frag. Ghostwalk's still there though, so can play a little bit aggressive on the refrag if he wants to. dramiS is on the hunt. Have to force the Ghostwalk out here. Nice counter rail from dooi, just to do a little bit of damage before he does vanish. That will stall dramiS a little bit, but again, the rail there is another big nullifier. There's also enough time given that rail for dramiS to get across here.
dramiS looking very good. Same for least. Both stacks very similar. We're just going to see if he can get behind his opponent. Oh, that was a real shame there. I thought that could potentially do some serious damage. But dooi is doing the right thing, just holding that top mid control.
Exactly. Without the Ghostwalk up, he is reticent to go any more aggressive than that. Hold positioning is key. Big rocket coming out just on the pickup as well. dramiS is in a bit of trouble, stuck in this room. dooi sneaking his way around, hoping to set up a trap. dramiS doesn't fall for it, but does eat a rail from behind and knocks him off the map.
What?
He ties it up.
Oh, that was ridiculous. So we're going to have to see a replay of that if we get the chance afterwards. Sadly for us, we saw that from dooi's perspective. Good rocket there. Only did 23 damage, sadly. Good rails from dooi. dooi, we definitely remember. When he plays this patient kind of style, his rail aim seems to follow suit.
Yeah, I was just about to point out that ever since dooi actually took his foot off the pedal a little bit and started playing positional, that's when he's got much more into the game and looks a lot more stable. And as you say, when he plays a little bit slower, it gives him more time to set up better angles to execute on his rail as well. So this is a much more effective playstyle for him and makes Nyx look a lot stronger. Playing around the weakness of Nyx, which is that lighter stack. You don't want to be taking these messy close range engagements. And dramiS is being caught off guard quite a lot of times as well. So the tempo is now working for dooi. Big trap up here with behind as well. Shotgun to the back. That's pretty painful for dramiS as he scutters himself away. But dooi holding out and going aggressive as well.
dooi though, good rockets there from dooi. We're about to clean him up. The shotgun, yes, he will. I was a little bit worried there. I was thinking that dramiS could actually burn that heavy, but he didn't manage to pick him up for himself, but still looking very good in terms of stack. 92 from that last rocket and cleans him up with the shotgun. This is much better stuff from dooi compared to what we saw earlier on in this game. And what you're saying earlier about Nyx and how he should play her and in terms of like positional advantage and keeping your distance, you're absolutely right. Ever since he's done that and changed the way he should be playing without, getting into any of these like close range combat fights, doing a lot better. And with Ghostwalk, and there's only 1 minute left, it should be dooi's, but we'll have to see what dramiS can do.
Yeah, that conversion pack was huge. Clean frag, managed to pick up both major items. He's actually even delaying the mega just a little bit as well. dramiS is forced into taking that very aggressive push, and that is pretty much a game going up against the stacks Nyx. She doesn't have to extend, she has to Ghostwalk. Massive shift in fortune and tempo from dooi. And all credit to him. dramiS, again, put in a really good showing, but just looks a bit sloppy at points. Really good start. Wasn't able to get back into it once dooi decided to check his tempo.
And even then, the damage dealt has been, almost mammoth in comparison. Like nearly 1100, sorry, just over 1100 damage in favor of dooi. The items, they haven't really tried to contest each other's items. They were just going for their own, really. A lot of the times the items weren't really segregated enough, or they were just a little bit cautious on whether they should at least try and push each other's items, because we know Dewey's going for the Mega a lot, dramiS was going for the Heavy. But, end of the day, that was a very good game. Dewey's looked a lot better in comparison from what we've seen in previous weeks in the rails. You can see there, Dewey, 43%, dramiS, 35%. It was much higher than that at the start, but kind of drifted just a little bit. But in all fairness, good stuff from both players, but Dewey looked much better.
I think that's the point. We went into this game basing it off of previous performances, and this is, from what I've casted anyway, the best map I've seen Dewey play this stage. It just shows you when he plays the way he can play and actually begins to think about the game, think about his positioning and playing a lot more strategically, he looks incredibly strong. The opening was what we've seen from Dewey in previous weeks, is where he tries to impose himself, and it wasn't working out. dramiS did rack up a little bit of a big scoreline, but then Dewey managed to get back into it, got a few clean frags. dramiS threw his body at the wall without success, and then suddenly, as soon as Dewey had control, we saw that change in tempo. He played a lot more strategical, played around his rail, wasn't just throwing his body at him and trying to ghost walk away, and that's when his fortunes changed. And dramiS wasn't able to live with essentially the brain power Dewey was bringing.
I like that from dramiS. You saw from his POV there, he's just like, okay. All right, mate, go on. You can have that frag. That's perfectly fine. Oh, that was the jump off, actually, we were talking about earlier. That was such a shame. I think he didn't realise the speed he was going at after that rail, and, when you jump from there, it's almost impossible not to at least fall off. But
yeah,
thank you very much for that replay. We weren't too sure if we were going to get it, but it was interesting to see, because from Dewey's perspective, he was like on the Mega side of rail, so we had no chance of seeing that at all. But at the start of the series, good start from Dewey, great way to actually kick things off in series number 2, but we'll have to see if dramiS can at least try and respond to this. He is playing very well himself, but both players just couldn't contest each other's items. We saw that quite a lot of the time. Dewey was playing very patient, very calm, very collective, being a lot more decisive than what he normally is, which is his kind of style. And you can see that he's obviously improved a lot over last, compared to previous weeks. So it's good to see. But how do you feel like it's going to go in map number 2?
I mean, Nyx is always a bit of an enigma on a map, and it does cause a little bit of problems. So we're going to have a more of a stable game this time going out. It is Ruins, I believe, Sorlag against Strog. So I think it'll be a bit more of the same in terms of the first few minutes of the game. Sorlag, we've seen from Dewey in the past, he loves to play aggressive on it. I think if we can see that balance of play from Dewey, that's where I think he shines, and Sorlag becomes even scarier, I think, if you're using him a bit more selectively. And Strog does suit dramiS, so I'm hoping to see him use his rail more, actually. I think he tried to get into the face of Nyx quite a lot of times on the previous map, and it wasn't as successful. He was being out-railed by Dewey quite a lot of the time, so use the Strog, open up those rail angles, and he's going to have to be effective with his rail to keep on top of the Sorlag as well. So that's what I hope to see.
I think dramiS actually had slash ban, didn't he? So he wasn't even able to even go ahead, actually choose slash for this map. I think that's why Dewey managed to ban it straight away, even if it wasn't on Awoken, just for future preference. But we are going to start off with map number 2 between dramiS and Dewey. This is the second series of the day, and we'll see if Dewey can maybe even get his first series win of the stage, or if dramiS can get some kind of comeback going. dramiS now. I had to back away a little bit, but still trying to keep that height, as Mega is coming up in the next 3 seconds. Heavy's coming up in the next 5. So items aren't fully segregated yet, still very, very early on into this game. Has picked up the Heavy, but it seems like Dewey is only delaying the Mega just ever so slightly. Still only a few seconds in between. But dramiS there, if he went straight through, that could have been a world of trouble. You saw there Dewey was just waiting patiently outside Mega to go straight through to entrance. Has the info, he knows he's going to come through. He's trying to push the nail side, see if he can go through the courtyard to pick off dramiS, but he hasn't really done too much damage to him, as dramiS could easily pick him apart here, but that rocket is not going to help, and Dewey still managed to take that engagement.
What a bizarre opening that was. And I'm not entirely, I don't know what happened. I'm not entirely sure why Dewey felt the need to go for a mid-range fight from high to low ground with rockets, just hoping to hit. And when dramiS then closed the gap and went into the only area he could actually eat a rocket. So unusual combat choices from both, but we have stabilized at 1-1. Nice rail from dramiS and a follow-up shotgun as well. That's how you should be playing Stroll.
Yeah, it was weird when he went into that choke point for the hourglasses. It was a bit strange. I think that's what dramiS wanted to do. He was just hide in that courtyard, but was trying to back away as much so that he had to push into that choke point, which is, again, yeah, like I said, it is bizarre. He could have just gone up the staircase instead, but, you know, it is what it is. 2 minutes into the game, 2-2. And dooi, we can see if he can try and clean this up. Beautiful rocket there as dramiS went through the telly. He's going to be able to pick up the light. The heavies come up in the next 5 seconds. Items are segregated, so dooi could get full control here.
And this is actually how I wanted to see dooi play the sword leg on this map. You can get caught into the, let's call it the Benga play style, just running the map, trying to be aggressive, but actually doi's being a lot more strategical and methodical in the way in which he's approaching these fights and using the stack wisely, so he's not wasting it, which is really good, and dramiS is not coping at this point in time. Big pummel though, coupled with the self-damage, and dramiS is back on the board, but dooi has a huge stack off the spawn once again and can just double back onto the light. Oh, lovely use of the Pika though, coming out. He knows doi's got no way of killing that, and already we're tied up to 4-4.
Yeah, this is bizarre. I thought it was going to be a lot slower than this. Boy, was I wrong. So with 3 minutes into the game, it's already 4 apiece. Good first rail from dramiS, trying to go for the second. Sadly missed it. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for him with all those rockets. But he's going to see if he can at least contest his heavy in any way he can. As he pushes through, good LG, good cleanup from dramiS as he managed to regain the lead after 3.5 minutes of play.
Nice. There is a little bit of time before the heavy now, so would expect dooi to go aggressive here, depending on the spawn he gets. He gets the rail lightning gun, so this will mean he can set up early for the heavy. dramiS already down there with the rail, misses the second though. That means dooi can go stand on it. If he bubbles backs off, but the rocket comes out from dramiS. Really messy fight. dooi comes out on top, but at what cost? He's only got 27 health. We'll get another health bubble down. dramiS gets a bad spawn though, so dooi can circle the map and get onto the mega. dramiS gets there. No lightning gun though, so easy frag for dramiS.
Oh, that was a little bit of a shame. He wouldn't have taken him down anyway, but that's not the point. The point is that he could have done a tickle of damage before he was taken out. So far, no, dramiS extending his lead. 8-5. Been back and forth throughout this match up until the last 90 seconds. Good rocket there from dramiS, and even he was a little bit surprised there. He's waiting for him to maybe pop up the jump pad. Highly unlikely. But dramiS is on the flank. He's on the hunt to see if he is around that courtyard, to see if he can catch him whilst he went down to that heavy jump pad. And it just wasn't to be. But still, dramiS looking very healthy in terms of stack. Everything else so he's doing, but he doesn't want to drop down like that. Oh, that was literally one of the worst times to drop down, sadly, for dramiS. But dooi, though, this is his time to try and make a comeback.
I was just about to praise dramiS on how much more careful he's been since the opening engagements. He's using the audio cues a lot better. He's beginning engagements from the long range rather than going as choke points and trying to play this rocket-based game. So it was unfortunate. I think he just over-strafed that. He's still in the lead though, and he will be able to pick up this heavy as dooi won't be able to push on down, particularly after eating that rails. A lot cleaner from dramiS now, and playing a lot more careful.
dramiS is heavily stacked, so dooi needs to be very cautious on what he wants to do here. We'll be looking for that chip damage. I was going to say more of a range game as well, but he's hitting these rails so, completely up close. Very, very risky in my opinion. But those first 2 rails are going to work wonders. He's hit a third one. Will he get 4? Yes, he will. 4 in a row for dooi. Good rails to capitalise on that situation. But again, in terms of his weapon selection, I would say a little bit strange, but very, very risky. But the risk definitely paid off.
This bit is so annoying. Just tick down 40 odd health. Oh no.
hitting rails like no end recently over the last minute. It's been the dooi show, but even saying that, still got a big stack, but he's not the one in the lead. dramiS is still holding on by a thread as he's going to try and contest that mega, but he's taken so much damage. But he will pick up that mega. Sadly for dramiS, he was on that staircase. He wasn't really, didn't have that positional advantage to push up for it. It was a little bit too far back. He wouldn't have had the speed and momentum to push up for it. And it looks like now dramiS is going to try and risk going for this heavy. If not, he can just back way up on that jump pad. But even then, it's 20 HP. dramiS gets a return rail there and extends his lead just a little bit here, 9-7.
Hasn't pushed down for this heavy though. I'm not sure if dooi is too much aware of that. He's actually snuck in behind to get the mega, and he does get the mega. He catches him in the choke point here. Big rockets coming out from dramiS, and he should be able to get the heavy. No, he goes the other way instead. Just decides to hit a casual 180 rail. Just dramiS things.
Standard. Looks like dramiS is starting to heat up, even though he was in the lead anyway. Good LG shots, and it looks like doooi's done him a favour, taken himself out, and you saw there that dooi did get that tri-bolt spawn, so he's not going to have too many weapons in his arsenal to start off with. But he has realised that dramiS is caught in that courtyard. But with a nail gun, it's not really going to do too much. But it does have the tri-bolt, so he may be able to feed himself some info after it picks up the mega. Oh my god. That was like the worst timing for it.
dramiS here is just slowing the tempo, letting dooi run at him. Dooi's now circling the map, trying to play a faster tempo because obviously time is ticking away, and dramiS is just holding these strong choke points, hitting early engagement rockets, just scooting himself away. Can obviously match the tempo playing Strog, and is a very good at Strog at that. He's not committing as well. Ever since he's made this adjustment, his fortunes have changed with it. And dooi is really struggling at this point. Missed rail, that could be big, but dooi just doesn't hit anything. Has to stick around, does hit a big rocket, but still gives up a frag, and 5 frags within a minute. I think it's safe to say dramiS is going to take map 2.
Yeah, have to completely agree. Minute 5 left, 5 frags. Not going to happen, close to impossible. dramiS is just going to bide his time, just try and delay things as much as possible. But in dooi's case, it's pretty much delaying the inevitable. But, both his players, dooi definitely had a moment, you could say, with that rail for like 90 seconds. He was just playing out of his mind. I still question that weapon choice, though. It was very, very risky. And if you're playing against an opponent with such a huge stack, you go for that chip damage for the first 2 rails, then maybe push in afterwards. But it seems to be, not in his face, but, about medium range to, see what he can do. It's just very, very risky. But he's, for him, he was just very fortunate that those risks did pay off.
Yeah, this map was interesting to watch strategically, and I really enjoyed the way dramiS ended up playing it. And the reason why I say it's interesting is because it started out polar opposites. It was dramiS that was trying to play super aggro, trying to set the tempo, and it was dooi who was then holding positions, playing slow, playing the rail game. I'm not sure when or why it changed, but I think it was dramiS did adjust based on the way dooi was playing. He then began to respect that positional play dooi was bringing out. He began to hold these choke points and play the rail game. And in contrast, then dooi decided to go aggressive, and he never really took his foot off the pedal. And ever since then, dramiS just played around Swordlag's weaknesses, which was her running faster to choke points, being a larger hitbox. And so he played the rail game extremely well. He used audio cues very well as well, and just respected if dooi wanted to push an item, he would do a significant amount of damage and then back off. So it was really nicely played from dramiS throughout.
In terms of stats, I think it was dramiS who did 1,202 more damage in comparison, which is, a lot, especially on a map like this. But in terms of rail percentages, it was roughly the same, 53%, 54%. Wasn't really too much in it. But dooi, though, I'm still quite happy with how he played, in small doses in a lot of these engagements. Some plays were very risky, but then again, it was understandable. He didn't have much time. He didn't want to let the game get out of hand. But sadly, dramiS was the one who let things spiral just a little bit out of control. But even then, in terms of control with the items, both of them were very similar. I think maybe dooi picked up one more item. That was literally about it. So both of them were contesting very well.
Which is one of those maps where the map began to slide out of range without even realizing what was happening. It was a lot of decent pushes from dooi, but The defensive play from dramiS was on point, and you can see there again reflected through the damage. 1200 extra damage is huge, and again the items were pretty much equal throughout. So it was just a really nice shift in strategy from dramiS, slowing the pace and playing around the aggression that dooi was bringing.
Yeah, because this is actually dramiS's last match of the stage, and he wants to try and make the most of it in terms of get as many points as possible. So, like, if he can get a 2-1 victory over dooi, that'll be huge for him. That'll keep him a little bit further away from relegation. I think dooi may have already been relegated. We'll have to confirm that. But with Cygib, you know, he has 2 matches left. He's got to play today, and he's got to play next week. So, you know, all eyes will be on him to see if he can keep his spot or not. But for dramiS at this moment in time, these 2 map wins will be huge if he gets his 3rd and final one.
Yeah, I think for dramiS it's definitely now more about just confidence, regaining form, getting in a rhythm, moving towards now the late stages of this stage, going into finals. And he's somebody that put in a really good performance in last stage finals and would definitely want to do more than just repeat that. So that was a much better performance. I felt map 1 was clunky in a lot of ways, but that was definitely a lot more refined. So let's see if he can continue that into map 3. But now he's playing Athena on deep, so that's a different combo. I'm really excited to see what he brings.
Yeah, because it was dooi who had the opportunity to actually select kill on this map, but decided not to. He was like, well, I'm going to ban it so you don't select it, and I'm just going to go for Ranger, which is, you know, it's not bizarre or strange in any way. You know, people have their own champion picks on what they prefer, but, you know, if some people would prefer to use Ranger to the kill and also, you know, don't want your opponent to use kill, that's perfectly understandable, as we are going to go into his 3rd and final map of the 2nd series of the day, and we'll have to see if dramiS or dooi, either one of these players, can try and end the series scoreline 2-1. But we'll be starting from dramis's POV.
Yeah, Athena is not something I've seen a lot of on here. Definitely has some weaknesses, but definitely has some strengths, and dramiS plays an amazing Athena. So doi's definitely got his work cut out. He used to be the Ranger specialist back in the day.
Good rockets, good rail to boot straight afterwards. Huge chunk of damage there from dramiS, and he's just not giving up. He's done 1 rail. It was going to go for the 2nd, but decided to go for the rockets. Completely understandable. Would he be able to clean them up? Yes, he does. I'm not going to lie, it was squeaky time there. Hoping, but he was actually going to be able to clean that one up as well. But he's perfectly fine. We're about to get him with the LG. Oh, sadly for him, he's just a little bit too late for that, but has already done a huge chunk of damage anyway. Nice 76 rocket there from dramiS. He's doing so much work in such a short space of time. How much damage has he done already? Nearly 800 in a minute 20.
Yep, and we're already seeing both sides of Athena's strengths and weaknesses come out here. The versatility that those grapples offer you just to get around the map, open up some amazing combat opportunities, but also the inherent weakness of just being a light champion also means she has to be careful in selecting which engagement she takes, when and where, because if she does miss out on a frag, the conversion potential is huge. Ranger being a medium champion means that weakness is somewhat limited, and again gives even more credence to why he picks Athena here. And a 3-0 lead also gives that validation.
Oh, dooi must be getting so frustrated with these predictive rockets. The amount of damage he's done almost every single time without fail. Look, that was a great example there. And he again finishes it off with that rail. It's literally the dramiS show in this 3rd and final map. You can tell he wants it. He probably heard us say that, you know, a 2-1 victory will help him massively going forward in the Quake Pro League. But so far, so good. 4-0 up. It's only been 2 minutes 40, but a lot of the damage has already been done.
dramiS making a much more conscious effort now to keep this heavy, also delaying the heavy as well, giving a good split between the items. He knows how much control he's getting. Effortless can't even get on a rail or a rocket or anything. He is just clutching at straws with that shotgun. Fire spawns over by the rail, but looks a little bit lost, if I'm honest, with the way in which dramiS is playing the Athena. And just the grapples coming out, catching Effortless off guard time and time again. It just means you can play this low ground game and actually instantly get onto the high ground.
Yeah, I kind of feel like doi's playing a little bit predictable now as well, and dramiS is just biding his time, waiting for the right moment. Oh, he just misses out on the heavy. Good grapple from him, but it doesn't matter. He'll pick up the heavy after his troubles. So now, still got plenty of time to work with, but on a map like Deep Embrace, it's very hard to cover such a large deficit. I think 7-0 is a big deficit. You know, a few frags, it's understandable, but it's hard, you know, to try and catch up without getting traded at some point.
Yeah, it's a snowball map, so you can't afford to give away a free frag. That wasn't a free frag, though. Yes, it was a frag, but dramiS will be more than happy with the way that turned out. Perfect position for the heavy. Will he be able to get a conversion here? Is Effortless? Why am I saying Effortless? dooi is a little bit trapped over there by Teleporter. He's away now as well.
It's right, Effortless is coming later, don't worry. You're all good. So far though, oh, that was an interesting jump towards for the Mega. Very risky, but again, good rockets from dramiS, just keeping him at bay. Making him work for a lot of these items. Good first rail. Would he go for the second? He is railable, and he finishes him. Of course he does. And he hasn't got any rockets left. Managed to pick him up anyway, and he's just standing his ground. He's got that top mid advantage. As now is that good first rocket. Managed to make him drop down. He could try and finish off the rail here. He probably won't now that he's picked up those 2 health bubbles, but it's still going to chase him down. Good rail. No. See you later, dooi. As now he's increased his lead again, but dramiS is just, you know, literally just all gas at this stage.
He really is, and dooi is just struggling. The Athena pick has been a masterstroke at this point in time. dooi is just... I don't really know what the answer is for dooi at this point in time. He looks fairly hopeless. There's a little bit of damage there, but again, plenty of positional play from dramiS here. The rail has been on point throughout, and dooi just looks like he's going to run the map at this point in time without really a plan to play with. So we said before, comeback was potentially possible when it was 6 frags. 10 frags now is a bit more different.
I still feel that the huge amount of damage he took from those predictive rockets earlier, you know, has made a large amount of difference in terms of like what he wants to do, because it wasn't just once or twice. It's understandable. You can reset your mentality after that, but it was literally like 9, 10 rockets, which just did at least 70 damage per rocket. And dramiS was probably thinking to himself, like, you know, I'm having a field day here. You know, I feel like I could fire any rocket any time, and no matter how well or bad I predict it, I managed to get such a huge chunk of damage. But at this moment in time, 3 minutes 50 left. dramiS now managed to get back on the scoreline, 12-2. dooi needs to try and find out how he can claw back 10 more frags, but I can't really see it happening here. dramiS has got a 63 hit percentage after firing 33 shots. Ridiculous.
Yeah, to put it into context, he is doubling dooi's damage, and
yeah.
It does feel like dooi has somewhat thrown in the hypothetical towel in the way he's playing sometimes. I mean, that's a decent frag, but again, look at the... Yeah, no, it's not. I was going to say, look at the outcome. We have nothing to play around, so he just decides to kill himself.
I guess he can. Still got, you know, he hasn't really got too much time left anyway. But dooi, though, was a real shame. It's not really, you know... We've seen some light at the end of the tunnel for dooi during maps 1 and 2, but kind of gone a little bit, you know, out of control, or definitely spiraled out of control. Again, you know, we're talking about these rockets, and that was just a great example. It's not the fact that, you know, dooi has been predictable in terms of where we could be whilst dramiS is firing these rockets. It's just in general, it's just, you know, a little bit of a shame, but the fact that he chose the timings that he did in some of those engagements when he tried to, you know, peek out and try and inflict some damage onto dramiS to force him to back away for some of these items. But so far, still needs 10 frags. dramiS does clean him up. I don't think that we will be able to get the trade here, but if he does, no, it doesn't look like it, but he will clean up with the LG eventually. But yeah, dramiS just looking very, very good. And, you know, earlier on, in terms of his rail damage, he had more rail damage than dooi had damage just overall in terms of all the weapons in his arsenal.
Yeah, dooi needed to play the high ground a lot better. I mean, he didn't get off to the better start, and dramiS did snowball ever so slightly, but he was not able to get up onto that high ground and to play the map the way he wanted to. You could see him just running from item to item and getting picked apart by dramiS. And every time dramiS actually needed to get up to the high ground, he was surprising dooi with the grapples up, connecting with some amazing rockets. And His aim has just looked stellar this map through as well. Nearly 60% rail, as you said, 2,200 damage with the rail. And unfortunately for dooi, after a decent map 1, a close enough map 2, this was an absolute whitewash.
I'm glad you said it and not me, so it makes me sound make me sound too bad, as dooi just does clean him up, but way too little too late. But it's weird though, dramiS just playing absolutely out of his mind, you know, like 47 shots fired, 57% hit accuracy. You know, even against a range, it's still very, very good, and the angles that dramiS took in order to fire some of these shots were just absurd. Just, you know, some people will abuse the verticality of Fina to maybe to go for certain items here and there, but he was using it just to try and get some kind of advantage in some of the duels he took in terms of his aim, especially with the tracking of his LG and his rail. It's been phenomenal. If he plays like this during the stage finals, when, you know, he could place a lot higher than most people would expect.
Yeah, he's somebody that has a bit of an X factor to their game. There's definitely some limitations in the way in which he plays.
Yeah.
We saw that on map 1 in particular, just getting caught off guard time and time again, trying to be too aggressive. So it's about how he uses that skill, and this is why he plays so much better when you give him the likes of a Strong or an Athena, where he has that speed and can be super versatile in and around the map. Put him on Doom, he's just restricted in the way he wants to play. So that's something he needs to learn how to play around when he doesn't get the champions that make him really access that star power he has. Because when he's on form and he's on his flow, he's one of the most enjoyable players to watch. It's just too few and far between, and luckily today we saw it 2 maps consecutively. So a really nice defensive performance on Ruins, and then just something out of this world on Deep.
Yeah, 2,410 more damage in comparison. That's just disgusting, really, isn't it? It's just absolute filth during that map, and considering it's quite easy to trade here and there sometimes, but then again, it depends on where you spawn, what weapon control you can get early on. Sometimes it can be tough, sometimes it can't be. It depends on the circumstance, really, of your opponent and what they can actually be doing. But you're right, though. Like, dooi seems, you know, sadly for him, looked a little bit oblivious to what should be his next move. But then again, it may not be being quite predictable for that reason. Maybe he just got a little bit fed up after the amount of predicted rockets he took during those first 3 minutes. It can be, you know, it is annoying. It's happened to, you know, all of us, where you take such a huge chunk of damage and you're just thinking to yourself, it doesn't matter how unorthodox or how unpredictable I can be. You know, these rockets just hit me every single time, no matter what timing I use to peek out and try and inflict some damage onto my opponent for some of these items. He kind of felt like, what else can he do here? But then again, dramiS, not only did he do that, but the grapples he used to try and, you know, take some of these engagements with the rail was just absurd. Just played out of his mind, and, you know, both his players played very well, but dramiS just, you know, played out of his mind. Very well played from him.
Let's be real, that was a really demoralising map for dooi.
Yeah.
He got outclassed from minute 0, and I mean, we just saw the frag there on 3 minutes where dramiS just grappled up, full rocket to the face, and then 1 or 2 rails back to back as well to finish off his opponent. Things like that just rattle you a little bit, where dooi had no answer. It did feel like after 4 minutes in, dooi had just pretty much given up on life and just wanted that map to be over ASAP. And unfortunately it wasn't. He played the full 10 minutes, so it looked really bad. But at the end of the day, you have to give credit to dramiS. Like, there was no in for dooi for when he was really going at it. And then you can see here, he's just kind of running at his opponent, and dramiS is just hitting all the nice style points for the frag movie.
See, he's got big guns both on and off the server, hasn't he, dramiS? It's a real shame for dooi. It's kind of one of those situations where, you know, he's already dead, and it's just still like just going in on him like, you know, like butter wouldn't melt. It was just absolute madness. But, you know, dramiS, you know, a nice way to solidify that 2-1 series victory. dooi will have to go back to the drawing board. You know, there's a very, very strong possibility now that he probably will be relegated, and we'll have to fight for his spot in the Pro League again. All that will be confirmed in the future. But I think that's the second series of the day all done and dusted. We'll be going to the third series very shortly, but we'll see you in a few minutes.
Alright, I'm going to get a coffee. Be right back.
Nice one.